Celtics Talk Podcast is presented by 24AutoGroup.com. 11 locations across New England.
The Boston Celtics continue to be the most perfectly boring basketball team out there. Every night follows a somewhat similar script with the Celtics, regardless of who is on the court, regardless of the situation, eventually just ripping the game open, particularly against inferior opponents, and then just setting the cruise control and getting to the finish line of another lopsided win. This is POSTGAME POD, episode 70, coming to you after the Celtics defeat the Detroit Pistons 129-102. The Celtics have now won 8 in a row, 56-14, 11 games up in the Eastern Conference. They are something absurd. I think it was 26-1 against teams below 500. They are just absolutely dominating bad teams this season, taking care of business against the teams they have to, and not leaving a whole lot of drama here at the finish line of the season. But you know what? Like, I've said it here on the pod before, they're boring in the sense that all they do is win. And winning isn't boring, but sometimes when you're just desperate for a storyline, that's why, heck, close game against the Bucks every now and then isn't the worst thing. Joe Mazzulla contesting a shot is like the biggest storyline of the past 2 weeks. These Celtics just keep rolling. Here's what we got coming up. Jaylen Brown, who had a perfectly quiet 33 points, goes one-on-one with Abby. We'll take you inside the locker room where Payton Pritchard talked after yet another big night for him. Here's where I want to start. It's the weirdest sort of stand-ins watching I've done as we roll into late March. Usually this time of year you're checking out, can the Celtics hold on to the 1 seed? What are you positioning for? No, I'm fixated on spots 7 through 10 because those are the teams that are going to be competing in the play-in tournament to determine who will be your first-round matchup. What's interesting, and we'll get into it a little bit more when we look ahead later in the pod, but essentially your next 3 games are against potential play-in opponents. Right now, based on the standings, Chicago, who you visit on Saturday night, is 9th, and Atlanta is 10th. And it really doesn't appear that either of those teams have any real chance to move before the play-in tournament arrives. Brooklyn's on the outside looking in at 30 games back, but they're 4.5 games behind Atlanta. So unless the wheels really come off for the Hawks, you're looking at the 9-10 game. Essentially, the winner of that 9-10 game would go up against the loser of the 7-8 game for the right to be the 8th seed. Right now, in spots 7 and 8 are Philly and Miami. So that's interesting. You would probably think Philly or Miami would win if they hold to those positions. What's maybe more intriguing is that both are kind of lingering right behind Indy. I know Miami at least has one more head-to-head game against Indy. There is a chance that the Pacers of all teams could drop into the play-in. Philly's a weird one because we'll see if they get Embiid back here at the finish line of the season. And Miami, of course, everyone will obsess about what they've been and what they tend to be in the playoffs. Sometimes it's better to catch them early, although I don't know if the Bucks would say that after last year. So it's kind of going to be fascinating to watch because Celtics fans will have their eyes glued more on those spots than necessarily anything the Celtics do. I don't know if there's a good answer here. I guess we'll get a glimpse of Chicago and Atlanta over the next couple of days, but they'd have to win from that 9-10 spot. You got to win essentially 2 games to get into the 7-8 spot or to get to the 8 spot. And I don't know if I see that happening. So going to be very intriguing to see how this all plays out. But it's just, this is how good the Celtics are. They're so boring. We're going to be watching every other team at the end of the playoff bracket to see exactly how it plays out. Now, one thing that will be of intrigue here, and that I've mentioned here a couple weeks ago, we were joking at that point that the Celtics would have to win out. I think at that point we said, they'd have to rip off 17, 18 wins in a row or something like that to catch the best regular season team in Celtics history, those 72, 73 Celtics that won 68 games. Technically, still in play. The Celtics right now at 56 wins, 56-14. They have a legitimate chance here to slot amid three of the best regular season teams in Celtics history. In fact, if you were going to, when you talk about teams that are most probably beloved, most adored in this region, 85-86 Celtics obviously come to mind because of how dominant they were, particularly at home. I think 40-1 that year. And obviously winning a title, 2008. We know how dominant the Celtics were that year. 85-86 won 67 games. 07-08 won 66. Still in play. So if the Celtics go 10-2 down the stretch here, you slot yourself with the 07-08 team. I mean, that's a pretty lofty company. It says something that the Celtics this year have positioned themselves to even be considered among that group. Usually we need the benefit of time to fully appreciate teams. We need time anyway because so much of how this team will be judged will be determined by what they do in April, May, and June. And if they win a title and they win 65 games, then they'll take their rightful place among the best teams in Celtics history, and we'll look back fondly at this era. If the Celtics get bounced in the playoffs and don't achieve the ultimate goal, it probably reshapes how, no matter what win total they get to, how we look at them. It's fair or not, it sort of diminishes what happened in 72-73, even though we know there were injuries in there and that team was, didn't get the chance to compete for a title, bouncing in the conference final. So, I don't know. I don't know if you ever know fully you're watching history. Certainly some of the 95-96 Bulls, you knew how good they were. 16-17 Warriors with the win total. You knew you were watching something special. Celtics, you clearly get the vibe all season long that how good they are. And the fact that they position themselves with the two teams I just listed off in terms of point differential, this team is trending on like historic level paces based on their winning and like how much they're winning by. So 27-point wins, that's going to drive that number up a little bit higher. And you'll have to wait till the pod in 2028 to fully know how we'll view this team. I guess we don't have to wait that long. Maybe by June I'll be able to talk. But it is in the moment you just can't quite slot it. It's impressive. We were talking about just the Celtics have hit their projected win total by most of the sports books that put out there this past preseason, and they're already there with 12 games to go. Just really quickly on this one because the Celtics got a whole bunch more games coming up, so we won't linger on it too much. But JB did his thing. Payton Pritchard was super efficient. Derek White flirted with another triple-double. Like, I go back to it. I keep saying it's boring, but, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the Celtics keep showing off their depth. Doesn't matter who's available. You can treat these things like spring training games. You're sending 3 starters out tonight. 3 starters out tonight, so you send out who you got left. There'll be a different-looking team in Chicago, and it doesn't seem to matter because you're getting production from your bench. You're getting production from your bench, from your depth pieces. You have the luxury of Payton Pritchard playing some of the best basketball of his career at a point where, a year ago he wanted to be traded and didn't have a role on this team. Now he's 3rd in the NBA in net rating. Sam Hauser misses 2 games with an ankle injury, comes back, hits a bunch of threes in the second quarter as you tear this thing open. Just an embarrassment of riches. And, maybe we should. I know you shouldn't take it for granted, and I'm probably, if you're upset with me using the notion that it's boring, I'm telling you, it's not a negative connotation. It's just they're so good. They are just taking care of opponents and making it look easy because of the depth and how good they are. They're going to need to lean into some of that, more of that depth to keep it going. But at least in Detroit, it was more than enough. Let's get to more of our postgame show.
Guys, I'll start with you in Detroit. It feels like it doesn't matter who's out of the lineup. And Drew likes to ask the question before every game, like, who's going to step up? Someone always does. Someone always does, Drew.
Yeah, and again, Giles, just like you're stepping up, in the studio with Amina not there anymore as Payton Pritchard steps up. Luke Cornett, of course, steps up. Man, Payton Pritchard, he didn't do a whole lot in the second half compared to the first half, but I think the second quarter Wednesday against Milwaukee and then the first half tonight, I mean, you see just how good he can be. And again, it's for a team where he's almost a luxury. I mean, they're so loaded.
What's interesting is, like, sometimes you have a team and there are some guys that are playing above their heads, right? They're just like, man, this guy's having a career year. I don't know if this guy can sustain it. Maybe he can't do it next year. It's almost as we're watching and you start to see guys out, it's actually like maybe guys are actually sacrificing, and maybe we're thinking they're having sort of career years, but actually they're capable of so much more. And I kind of think that about our bench. They don't get the credit when people talk about, this bench is not good enough. How are they going to win in the playoffs? You think about guys like Derek White or Drew Holiday. We know we have our superstar players, and what they give you, and maybe even you could say Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown could probably do more too. But, everybody on this team seems to be sacrificing, and everyone is loving the opportunity to have a night where they get to play more, shoot more, or just be involved in the action a lot more.
Who was that guy who came up to you in the elite media dining room here in Detroit and said, I don't know about your guys in the playoffs. I don't think they're deep enough. Who was that? You don't have to put him on blast. but
I'm not going to do that.
Guys, that's a common narrative, and I just think it's flat wrong. I think you're not paying attention if you think the Celtics aren't deep. I mean, look at the way Luke Cornett has improved, the way Payton Pritchard has clearly improved. The guy was asking for trades last year, and now he's one of their most important contributors off the bench. Sam Hauser, we know what he's doing. And then Al Horford usually comes off the bench. So if you think the Celtics don't have a deep bench, you're crazy.
Yeah, Eddie, what did you think of the role players, the depth guys, and the way they stepped up tonight?
I think about it like this. Let's put it all in a nutshell, right? When Derek White first came to the team, everybody was like, okay, D. White, he's a good player, but, is he that guy that's going to help them get to the promised land, right? To get over the hump. And it's all about getting comfortable. If you are a player and you know where your minutes are and you know what you could bring, and you got to give Brad Stevens a ton of credit for picking the right guys, for knowing I'm gonna get winning players, number one. I'm going to get guys that can be selfless, but at the same time affect winning in many different ways. And I think that's what we're seeing from our bench. Yeah, they're not big name players. They're not. They're not the guys that are going to jump off the page when you say their names and people think like, oh, these guys are automatically going to help this team be better. No, but if you watch the Celtics play, these are the guys that are going to help them win a championship. The Payton Pritchards, the Luke Cornetts, the Sam Hausers, the Derek Whites, the Drew Holidays. I know Drew Holiday already won a championship, but the fact of the matter is these are all winning players that love to play the game of basketball. These are all hoopers.
The Celtics are treating some of these back-to-backs like split squad spring training games. They're sending 3 starters to Jupiter, 3 starters down to the floor. Like, it's amazing to me. If you think this team isn't deep and you're watching like the way they're treating the rest of the starters on this team and making sure that everybody's upright for the playoffs, you are truly not paying attention. But Drew, I threw it at scale the other night. So I'll try to phrase it differently. Like, which of these bench guys is going to be most vital when the playoffs roll around? Like, does Sam need to be the guy knocking down shots? Does Luke have to give you that extra big off the bench? Which guy is most vital? Besides that.
And none of us are mentioning Xavier Tillman as well.
Who started tonight.
Yeah, I think Luke, I think Joe Mazzulla is trying to incorporate him. Give me the game. Give me the series. Give me the situation. Give me who's in, who's out. We have 2 days off. There's a lot of variables into who's going to be the guy or who's going to. And I think if you look at it, Payton Pritchard and the way that he created energy in that Milwaukee game, man, if he goes out there in a playoff game, instead of playing 3 to 4 minutes in a stint, maybe he goes 6 to 7 minutes in that stint. So, I think the biggest problem moving forward after all this, as we go through this whole thing, would be, I think everybody in the NBA, and Eddie included, me included, like, you always want to maximize your role. And I think the Celtics have a really good problem. The really good problem is they got a lot of good players that deserve to play, and they're figuring it out right now. But, man, these guys are showing a tremendous amount of success when they get their individual opportunities. And what does that lead to in the future? But this is not a problem for us this year as we get closer to the playoffs.
I will see what it looks like again tomorrow night. I would assume that you're going to have a totally different looking starting lineup, as always. Let's catch up with Abby meanwhile.
Jaylen, what kind of rhythm did you find here on the floor? You were perfect from 2. The only shots you missed were from 3.
Just trying to be aggressive, coming out. We know we got some players out. Just try to find our teammates. I ended up with no assists tonight. I thought I made some good passes, but outside of that, I was just being aggressive.
Yeah, missing 2 starters. When Jason doesn't play, you're averaging over 32 points a game. How does the approach change? Because I know you're always aggressive to start.
Yeah, just keep being aggressive, but playing a little bit faster, and just trying to get into a rhythm from on defense and offense, and let the game kind of take care of itself.
Here in Detroit, P. Rabbit came out in that starting lineup. What does it do for you guys when he is that aggressive?
Yeah, P came out on fire. Like in the first half, I was like, it's his show. Let him keep running it. He was playing well, making the right plays. So when we got our guys rolling like that, that's important. So we want to empower our guys to continue to play like that and reward them. So, in the next couple of games, be looking to play through with some of our guys to get them feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, pretty good start to this season-long trip. How are you challenging this team on this road trip?
More as a battle of focus, battle of mindset. We could have came out and went through the motions, allowed Detroit to get comfortable, but we came out and we executed. We didn't play around. Even we're down a couple players, still came out and took care of business. So that's the most important thing.
Jaylen, thank you. Congrats.
Thank you.
Monty was saying before the game how Jaylen, he thinks just kind of just more dangerous as a shooter and scorer this year, and you have to account for more from him. What have you seen from him on that end, and then just what you see from him tonight in general?
I've just seen great stuff. I love just the way he's carrying himself out there in the court. He's processing each and every possession on both ends of the floor. He's taking the shots that he wants. He's making plays for himself, for his teammates. It's been an honor to coach him. He's been just playing well-rounded basketball on both ends. So it's been fun to watch.
It seemed like one of the plays you actually liked the best was the read to Sam at the end of the third there. Yeah. Sam missed the shot.
Well, that's important because we had just been talking about ending quarters and game management, and we got the 2-for-1 in a really good spot, and we watched a couple possessions of not getting the last play. And the last time we played them, they went on a 7-0 run to end the first quarter because we didn't take the last, partly because we didn't take the last shot. And so that was a point of emphasis for today, and I thought his ability to handling that end of the quarter was really important for us, and that was a great carryover.
Along those lines, first and second quarter, first quarter, there was, they're up by 6, then you forced a shot clock violation, and then Payton quick 3. The second quarter was, I think, a KP steal to break up their 2-for-1, give you guys 1. Like, what did you see?
No, that's it. Just 2 19-point quarters is tremendous. Only 7 turnovers, forced 19 turnovers. I just thought the guys got off to a little bit of a slow start, but I thought they found just a great sense of joy and like a physical spirit, and just kind of dominated those margins, and it was fun to watch them.
Monty Williams was talking about you. He just said how he appreciates how you've just evolved as a shooter and scorer. He said, obviously, you've always been a dangerous player. He said there's so many things now he has to account for. How do you feel like you've kind of grown at that end of the floor?
I think natural maturity. Just one, you get better through experience, and you get older, you get better, more skilled, more professional, but also just more opportunity. I think throughout the years, my opportunity has varied, not because of my lack of skill set. I think just we had a lot of big-time players that have came through this organization. So, I was just, patient, kept getting better, and now it's my time.
One of Joe's favorite plays was at the end of the third. We had the double and found Sam in the corner there, even missed a shot. Just kind of making the right reads. I know that's something you've kind of taken pride in this year. Like a game like this, when the ball's in your hands a lot more, how do you kind of see the game?
Yeah, I had a few more turnovers than I would have liked tonight. Most of them came trying to get guys the ball, though, and trying to get KP the ball a couple times, trying to get guys the ball off the overhelp, and, I'm okay with that. But just overall, just seeing the read of the game, making the plays, and it felt good tonight.
Original question. We talk a lot about your development as a playmaker, but as a shooter, particularly from 3, how much do you work on that, and how much more confident are you?
just letting it fly. You see a guy guiding you a certain way, you just go into your natural motion and just shoot the ball. Try to take too much of the thought process out of it and just, be who you are. I work on my mechanics all the time, on my details all the time, and just got to just trust yourself, let go, and just shoot the ball.
How does the approach change for you when you're in the starting lineup?
Doesn't really. I play the same no matter what. When I'm out there, just pushing the pace, play with intensity. So it doesn't change. If I'm coming in, 3-minute mark, 6-minute mark, or starting. So.
What do you like about these games where you guys, obviously different guys are out, different starting lineup first half, different starting lineup second half, just kind of figuring new rotations and everything?
I think no matter who's in, it doesn't change the intensity, how hard we play, what we're here to do. It doesn't change, and it just shows how deep our team is, and guys are able to step up, and we take care of business.
The other thing he talks a lot about is closing quarters strong, first and second with those big threes. How did that kind of give you guys a boost?
I mean, it's just those are like momentum swings. So, we study a lot on those situations, end of quarters, even started quarters. Just coming off on a good start, but definitely end of quarters, like getting good shots, the time management, 2-for-1s, 3-for-2s. I mean, it makes a difference if you add it up at the end of the game.
The one at the end of the first, Joe just yelled to O'Shea and just gave him a little head nod. Is there a play call on that or something?
No, I don't think so. I just think it was 3 seconds left and I was going to catch it on the head of steam and try to find something.
How much do you want the ball in your hands in those situations?
I kind of feel it out. Who's on the court with me? I understand my role and stuff. So, D.Y., Drew, JB, JT, they deserve it. But I had the opportunity there and took advantage.
I'm saying that first quarter, there was no question you were taking that shot, right?
Yeah, once I had it full steam, I was going to take it.
What is it about you and the mentality? I mean, sometimes at the buzzer, a lot of guys looking to avoid that stat, not the heave, but you have no fear with that.
I don't really care because it's just, if we really want to dive into percentages, you can go look and take those shots away, then I'll be shooting a great percentage. But it's part of the game, and those can be KP talks about it all the time. Those are crazy swings. And I remember I hit the half-court one against the Wizards, and totally changed the momentum, and it's just an energy play. So you don't know what that could happen, especially in the playoffs come. We might need that basket.
Next up, like I said, Chicago on Saturday night, back-to-back. You suspect that, maybe they think about taking JB and giving him a night off. Maybe Kristaps Porzingis. I suspect Derek White will play. He just, he's a hooper. They managed to get him to take one day off. I don't know how many more they're going to be able to get him to do. Jason Tatum presumably will be back. Al Horford will play on the second night of a back-to-back after sitting the first night. So you'll have some pieces, but you're going to look for more guys to elevate. Do you throw Payton Pritchard? Oh, and Drew Holiday's injury obviously lingering over all this, the dead arm. So a good chance you'll see more Payton Pritchard. A good chance you'll see maybe some more experimentation with Xavier Tillman, and Luke Cornett's been playing pretty big minutes, one of Luke's former stops, so he'll be out there. So Celtics are going to have to cobble together. Hasn't seemed to be an issue no matter who they throw out there. They seem to succeed. An opportunity for the guys that are, that settle for the lesser roles or have been good embracing it to thrive here. Double dip in Atlanta looming as part of essentially the Celtics play 3 games in 4 nights with Monday's game in Atlanta, then get a couple-day break. The last 2-day break on the schedule before playing another game in Atlanta. So no rest for the weary around here. We'll be right back with you on Saturday night for yet another episode of the POSTGAME Pod. If you missed it, we had an off-day edition yesterday with Chris Mannix talking about some of the award talk, some Payton Pritchard gushing, and some, just kind of checking the Celtics to-do list here over the final 12 games of the season. All they do is win, though. So if that's all they keep doing, not the worst thing. We'll be back with you on Saturday night on the POSTGAME.